Let Century Management Solutions get you to your next medical appointment. They specialize in non-emergency medical transportation, connecting patients to care, safety, reliability, and on time. Their advanced technology platform seamlessly coordinates patients, healthcare providers, insurers, and transportation partners all in one powerful network. With over 200 trusted transportation providers, they deliver scalable solutions backed by real-time tracking and complete transparency. Go to SENTRYMS.com.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
I want to talk a little bit about beginning about a documentary that I saw, and then I want to talk to you. The phone number is 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. I want to talk a little politics, then we're going to talk Iran, and then I want to talk to you. There's a documentary that was shown at Tribeca, the Tribeca Film Festival. Tribeca Film Festival is one of the noted film festivals on the globe. For those of you who don't remember or weren't around, Tribeca really started after 9/11 as an attempt to get people to go back downtown. Post 9/11, people literally were afraid to go downtown. There were environmental concerns, just a psychic trauma. So Tribeca, Triangle Below Canal Street, Film Festival was a major event that was planned to get people to go back downtown. It did that extraordinarily well. And it then became just one of the great global film festivals. Anyway, they show premieres, and they showed a premiere of a film called Mario. Mario is about Mario Cuomo, who is the husband of my mother, which makes him my father. And it was a tough film for me to sit through, frankly. I had a special relationship with my father. I was his campaign manager when I was 23 years old. He was my best friend. I worked with him. Then I became governor. He worked with me. So it was really a multi-layered relationship. And, a lot of times you see families work together and they have trouble. But when you work together and it works, there's a whole additional level of connectivity. And that's what it was with my father and myself, both governors. He was the 52nd governor. I was the 56th governor. I was helpful to him. He was helpful to me. And to sit through the documentary and see him and hear him once again and see him laughing and joking, it's just tough. But I'll have some comments about the documentary vis-a-vis my father. But one thing the documentary did is it started with my father, 1982. And it was really, and is, and I would encourage people to see it because it's an educational film about our politics in the 80s. And you can't help but sit there and say, my God, how different we are today than we were in the 80s. 80s, you had Ronald Reagan, you had a clear Republican philosophy, and you had a clear opposing Democratic philosophy. This was not rhetoric for the sake of rhetoric. This was not extreme lunatics screaming at each other. These were intelligent people with a philosophical difference. And my father was one of the main spokespeople against Reaganomics. He gave a speech in 1984, Democratic keynote speech, which became known as the best synthesis of the argument against Reaganomics. President Reagan used to talk about a shining city. My father's speech at the convention was basically, you see a shining city, but you don't see the entire city. There are parts of the city that you don't see. There are parts of the city that you don't go to, meaning there are Americans that you are neglecting. And that was the philosophical difference. Ronald Reagan was appealing to the middle class. The Democrats were also appealing to the middle class, right? Democrats had more support among poorer Americans. And the fight was connecting with the middle class. And Reagan was trying to connect with the middle class, as were the Democrats. And Reagan's argument was not damn the poor. It was, I don't believe government programs are effective at helping the poor. That should be more a role for charity. It evolves into 1,000 points of light, right? Government programs don't work, which is sort of indicated when Bill Clinton runs and says we have to reform welfare because it's not working. Before that, Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, going way back, was critical about welfare. But that was Reagan's philosophy. And that was juxtaposed with a Democratic philosophy that said government has more of an affirmative obligation to help poor people, to help the working families. And if government helps them improve their lives, that improves the collective, and that is good for everyone. And these were smart people having smart conversations. Yes, you had a crazy left. And yes, you had a crazy right. But they were crazy. And they were recognized as extremists and fringe. And they were not taken seriously by their own parties. And they certainly weren't the tail on the dog that was wagging the entire party. These were smart debates, well articulated, and there was a place for politics, and then there was a place for government. Yes, you had intense political campaigns, but then you were in government, and government was you had to work with the other side to get things done. And that's how it worked, and that's how it was supposed to work responsibly. Ronald Reagan, very charismatic guy. I didn't find him extraordinarily charismatic, but a charismatic guy. Did very well. Charming, affable. By the way, Ronald Reagan's theme, listen to this.
Together, we'll make America great again.
Aha. So, everything new is old. That was his optimistic theme. And it worked. He won election. He won re-election. But that was the debate in the 80s. That was the Republican argument. The Democratic argument, my father's argument, was government has a more affirmative role in helping the poor, helping the working families. That's good for everyone. Democrats were leaders in civil rights, in environmental protection, job creation, because jobs are opportunity. And Democrats were very big on job creation. Democrats were very big on public safety and police. Why? Because the victims of crime are most likely poorer Americans. That was the Democratic vision, and these two visions were competing. Totally different than today. Today, the extremes govern, as we've said many times, but the extremes govern out of anger and fear. Why? Because hostility is infectious, and hostility sells, and hostility is a motivator. And we have gotten to a place where the extremes are hostile at each other. The discussion is no longer productive. It's not even about anything anymore. It's just slogans and anger and opposition. Far left on the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders telling everybody who should be a Democrat, and anybody who has a Democratic label, that's a good person, you have to vote for them. Even if they're a Nazi tattooed on their chest, at one of the highest rates of anti-Semitism in history. Bernie Sanders dictating who should be a Democrat. By the way, he's an independent. Bernie, if you're so concerned about the Democratic Party, why don't you become a Democrat? I mean, the hypocrisy is just in your face to see. And you have these two polar extremes. Even when I governed, we worked together. I had a Republican legislature. We passed marriage equality with a Republican legislature. We passed the progressive tax code with a Republican legislature, highest minimum wage, environmental reform. You can be productive. You can work together, and we've lost that. The documentary on my father, it focused more on my father's personal take on politics and how he approached politics. My father was an intellectual. He wasn't a politician. He didn't want to be called a politician. He didn't like politicians. And it talked, for example, he's Catholic, personally opposed to abortion, but believes he has a civic duty to enforce the law and those types of philosophical issues. And it talks about that a lot. It doesn't talk, in my opinion, enough about his accomplishments. You know, he's a great speech maker. He was a great speech maker. But he also was a great governor in terms of accomplishments. Rebuild New York, right? I love to talk about I built LaGuardia Airport, Moynihan Train Hall, 2nd Avenue Subway, Long Island Railroad. He started Rebuild New York, statewide bond referendum to rebuild the infrastructure in New York. He created jobs. I worked to bring Amazon, to bring manufacturing companies, to bring companies from Israel here, to bring yogurt manufacturing upstate, to help the dairy farmers sell the milk to the yogurt companies. Because you want to create jobs, you want to create opportunity. He created over 500,000 jobs. He had so many firsts. He appointed the first woman, first black, and first Hispanic to the Court of Appeals. All firsts. He appoints the first woman and the first chief judge who was a woman. Very big on public safety and fighting crime. So he had tremendous accomplishments. And the film doesn't get into that. And he also had tremendous talent. Guys like Jerry Crotty, guys like Drew Zambelli, God rest his soul, Tonio Burgos, who's in the movie. But he had tremendous talent, Liz Moore, great counsel, that he attracted young people to come in to work in government. And the film doesn't really get into that. The film can't get into everything. But the negative that my father hated was, he gave a great speech, but that's the extent of it. He was a great speaker, great keynote speech. I mean, he used to call it the dumb blonde syndrome. That because the woman is a pretty blonde woman, you think that she's not substantive. Terrible stereotype. Because he could give a good speech, that meant he wasn't a good operational governor. He was a great operational governor. And that'll be another film one day. But I wanted to say that. Also, two quick clarifications. On the film, they do a psychological analysis. Why didn't he run for president? Why didn't he run for president? Must be something. Why didn't he run? You're assuming that every politician is an ambitious politician who wants to take the next step on the ladder. My father hated the politics of it. And he didn't want to run for president because he didn't want to run for president. Now, if he could have been appointed president, that would have been one thing. But he used to say to me half-kiddingly, what do you expect, that I'm going to run around the country and milk cows and kiss babies and stop in every diner? He didn't like that cheap politics. He didn't like kissing up to the local political people. That's why he didn't run for president. And he wasn't an egomaniac. And he wanted to help, but he wanted to help in ways that he was comfortable, and he did not want to run for president and do what you had to do in that exhausting, grueling 2-year campaign. Even as governor, he didn't do a lot of the retail politics that politicians do. Well, why didn't he take the Supreme Court? He didn't take the Supreme Court because his calculus was he had 2 years left on his current term as governor, and then he was going to run again and get another 4 years, so he'd have 6 years more as governor. And he'd rather have 6 more years as governor than be on the Supreme Court. That was his calculus. Also, the Supreme Court, you're not allowed to speak on issues that may come before the court. So he once said kiddingly, you'd have me cut my tongue out because he couldn't speak. And the big thing for my father was speaking on issues that were topical. And 6 more years as governor, he would have been ready to retire. He was ready to make that trade. And I understand that. I disagreed with it because I didn't think he should run for re-election. And I thought it was going to be a tough re-election. It was tougher than he thought it was going to be because it was the midterm of the Clinton administration and there was a big Republican tide, and he lost. So he only had 2 years and then he lost, where he was looking at 6 years. But that was a rational judgment. And the film gets into this, we've had feelings of lack of confidence. My father was a super competitive guy, was on the stage with everyone, and was heads above everyone. So he was threatened by no one, for better or worse. But they do this psychobabble that drives me crazy. He didn't have confidence. Anyway, I'm too close to it, they say. I am too close to it because I know it too well. And I love him too much.
Listen to this podcast now
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.